to be added. It's like this is where the NS operation queue works. Let's see that NS operation queue, how it exactly it's work. If you see that yesterday we have seen some couple of things like write operations. It's operation queue demo. This is where we have seen yesterday about like threads and all, and let's see that operations, how exactly it works. Operation subset. So it can make some job. Yesterday we have seen something like this. Let's take an example of printing of values. So we can create an NS operation. NS invocation operation or NS operation. So this is where like how the threads is getting created. Similarly, we can create this self. We have to specify the method to which it's going to do the job, and to pass something. If the method is having arguments, you can pass it. So this is my operation. So if I want to add, now I would like to execute this. So I want to make one queue process for this in order to schedule the threads and everything. I have an NS operation queue. Operation queue unlock. Init pq. There is a method like operation. So whenever it's added to the operation, it gets started executing that. You don't need to start again. opq. Here there is an option to execute a max concurrency threads. For example, if there is more than one job is, let's see how it gets executed. And we have Is it clear now, Rahul? Voice is clear now? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So let's start. Okay. Like you can either you can do it an add operation. So now you can see that we have seen an operation. So I didn't start any operation, but when I added the operation, the job is performing in the background. So the queue will, whenever an operation is added to the queue, the operation will get executed. Let's create a second job. Let's make it operation 2. So now I want to add the second operation again. Just add to operation queue, add operation. So now we're able to see that there is a one job is running in the background. Let's keep it something less numbers, so it will be a bit faster. So this is the first job. The first job is running. So whenever the first job is finished, then it started a second job. So the scheduling of the operation executions is handled by your operation queue. So this handling was not there in threads.
Suresh,
Yes. Hello.
hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday I was not able to attend the session. So can you please explain little bit about yesterday's session so that I can relate this with today's session?
Yeah. Actually, yesterday I shared it. Threads. There is a video. You can find it. Mostly, it's there. You can walk through that. Mostly, this is where we are yesterday. This video.
Okay.
Just we had a completely. So if you can walk through once, then it's like a threads in normal any programming language. So how to
Okay.
run
Threading
that is an
In
API
Java
class.
is same like this.
Yes, threads are same. Like the way of behavior is same, but the API classes are different. Here we have
Oh,
same one API class. In Java also you can create a threads in two classes, right? You can use a runnable or you can use go with thread. So yesterday's
oh,
session is something like related to one API, how to create a threads. Today is another API, how to do the same.
okay.
The way of
And
behavior, there are certain changes.
okay. And what is the selector in that statement?
Yeah,
NS invocation.
and this is like, for example, you want to make sure to point a location of a method. So we use the selector. The selector is refers to the address of a method. That's where like it's a do job is one of the method. So I want to pass a method as an argument. So directly there is no option. So here an object see we have a selector. The selector can refers to the address of a method. So where you can pass a method as an argument. If you want to pass a method as an argument for any other method on any method, so you can use the selectors. It's like a
Oh,
simplified approach.
Okay. It's like just
It's equal to,
we call function
yes, it's like,
uh,
so the objective
on.
target is self, right? It do like
Okay.
self, do this is where this is equal to this.
Yeah.
So this is where
Okay.
you have calling, but here you're passing this as one object. So with this, you would like to do one action. So you can specify your the block. You can point your block with the help of at the rate selector. It's nothing but you can point your method with the help of at the rate selector.
Okay. So it's just a different way to call the function. That's it, right?
Yes, yes, it's a way of it's a different way because if there is no selector, you cannot pass a method as an argument. If you want to
Okay.
pass a method as an argument to another method, so here init with target is one of the method to initialize a operation, NS invocation operation object. So in order to, when we create an instantiation for one class, if you want to add a one more method as like a object, you can use the selector. So the simple direct way, it's like the selector is used to, if you want to pass any method as an argument, you have to use the selector. The selector
Oh,
refers to the address of a method.
okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So here we have like two operations we created. Now we want to schedule these two operations. So if you add to the operation queue and based on your concurrent operation count, so here my concurrent operation count is one earlier. So it's do the job one after other. So now my concurrence count is two. So it's like it should do the either or in like a concurrence execution. Now the two operations will start executing at the same time. So here based on your operation count, it will schedule how many operations needs to be run at same time in a concurrency way. So this kind of scheduling, if you deal with NS threads you can create a thread, but if you want to handle more than one thread with a specific order, or else if you then such kind of thread management was not available in NS thread. So this thread management is a better way is handled with NS operation queue. So the NS invocation operation is invokes a selector. So by the target, that's where it's defined, and it's a subclass for an NS operation. This NS operation is the one of the thread API class. The NS invocation operation is a subclass for NS operation. Here we have like more than one operations, like we can add it to operation queue in order to do the job. So if I want to cancel all operations, there is an way to cancel operations. So now this is my operation queue, because whenever you do any job, so you can pass the job to NS operation queue to handle in a better way. So one queue, you can manage the set of operations with one queue. This is where like to cancel some certain operations. Now there is a way I want to cancel it. If you see here we have 5,000 and here we have 1,000 characters. It's get printed. Now I want to cancel it. It's run for 4,900. On top of it, there are the two threads. So here also like you can do the job processing like in order base you can do, and like you can add an operation as well. You can check whether the operation queue is suspended or not. That's where we can do that, and we can able to check what's the current operation queue which is running. There are certain available options we have. One is like you can, so here for example if you would like to cancel all the operations, you can use a method like a cancel all operations. So whenever you cancel a thread, the thread like it's get cancelled, but the job which is running on the thread, that needs to be handled by the developer end. So whether the job needs to be returned or not on based on the thread status. Similarly also we have to do the same thing for operation queues. The operation queue, the advantage compared to thread is the operation queue can schedule the operations the way it's required, whether it needs to be one thread at a time or one operation at a time or more than one operation at a time that we can schedule, and we can add the operations in a queue manner, so as many as we want, and we can able to get the what is the operation queue which is running currently. To get the current operation queue, you can see that ns operation queue, current queue. You can get a current queue which is running. So if you would like to pass something, you can able to compare whether this operation queue is equal to this one or not. Like you can able to retrieve a current queue which is running. So current queue instance we can able to get it with the help of current queue method. This will give, this will return current queue which running this method. So this is the way like you can able to do it. Once if you want to cancel all operations, here the all operations for the queue was get cancelled. So if I want to return this job, then I should able to make thing, I have to manage something here, like for example, so this is my operations. Is queue operations is cancelled or not? You can simply just return it. So this is where like if I don't want to run this again, so after cancellation, so I can use a boolean variable to handle it. So such a way that we can able to stop something. Here I printed some 500 for the first job. It's like I printed some 500 statements. So later I handled, because I know that the operations is get cancelled. So you have to create one operation queue based subclass which have all these operations handled, like with which handles all these conditions like cancel. So if it cancels, so how the job needs to be checked. So you have to customize that API class. So when you want to do this cancellation, it works properly on the jobs. But the way is simplified is like you can manage the operations, how it need, how should execute, and the procedure and the order that we can do it. Let's check whether this operation queue is cancelled, suspended or not. If not suspended, you can run it. If it is suspended, So here this we cancelled it. So now I check the condition whether is it cancelled or not. When the thread is get cancelled, like queue is get cancelled, just I'm returning by force the method queue. So I should make sure if at all if the user is cancelled the operation, I needs to handle that job in a proper way. This is the way of operation queues is get handled. It's like simplest procedure when compared to threads. Here also, if there is more than one operation is wants to execute one method, then you have to keep the method in synchronized block, so that it when more than one operation is sharing any resource, if that shared resource needs to be controlled in a better way for multi-threading, then we'll use like synchronized blocks, which I said yesterday. If there is some shared job, then if I want to make sure this needs to be synchronized, I can do this self job. So this is something. Now these two operations are running. Wants to utilize one method or one action. You can set sprint for. So now if you see, even if I run the operations in concurrent manner, but whenever one operation is finished the job with the shared instant, like a shared resource or shared method, so the second job gets started. The synchronized here, the synchronized will block the resource availability for the other threads when it is used by the current thread. If you want to make sure that this is also needs to be synchronized, I can do it. Select shared job. This is where if there is something running on a shared resource, so we can do the same way, like availability of some resource in a shared manner. So now there are the four operations I have here. The first operation will do job. Second will do for the second job. Third and last is doing this shared. Now I want to add all the operations. This way, like you can handle the operations in a better way with operation queue. This is the one of the powerful approach to do a multi-threading concurrent execution in Objective-C. So as I said, there is one more like timers. I want to create a timer. So I would like to schedule some action after some point of time. So with a time delay, I want to run one job. Let's say now I have something here, timer, ns timer with interval. So you can do this after how much time it needs to be started. So you can specify the time. Job for schedule. If you want to pass something, you can pass it. Either it needs to be repeated or not. If I say no, then this action won't get repeated every time. So if I mention it's like this is where you can create like time interval. There is a way you can fire it. So it will get started. So you scheduled the timer should activate after some period of time. So this is like this method will get executed after 2 of milliseconds of time. It's like it will do it. It's like this is where like you can use the timer to schedule it. And if I want to make sure it needs to be repeated, one action needs to be repeated continuously for every 2 seconds of time, then it will be. So it like I given a long period of time. It's getting delayed. For every 5 seconds, 0.5 second that job. Schedule time with interval. So this is where like I'm scheduling one job for every the certain frequency of time. So you do the job is repeatedly because I created a timer which runs frequently with the time difference. So this is where you can schedule a job in concurrent way if you want. So now I would like to cancel it. If you want to cancel it, whenever you don't require, then first you need to check whether the specific the timer which is running is valid or not. So I want to stop it. So if you would like to stop, then you can stop it. If it is valid, means the timer is running. Then there is timer not invalidate. can invalidate the timer and you can disconnect the reference to the memory. Now earlier it's used to do the job. It schedules the job repeatedly. But even if it's repeated, I want to cancel, like I would like to cancel a timer. So you can cancel a timer the way, like by checking whether is it valid or not. This is where like you can deal with timers. So it's a different from the operation queues. Like let's do some scheduling. That's the one of the feature which you do with timers. So if you create a timer, and you can create a timer in two ways. Either you can create with your class level or you can create with your instance level. And it's timer with interval. It started, but here this method is not able to schedule the job repeatedly. Let's use the same. So I hope the same thing we have used in the second one. This is the way like you can able to do it. So if I don't want to repeat a job, then I can do it at once. I want to do it at once. Then you can make sure it runs only one. Even if I even if you won't do this, so even if you won't invalidate the timer, it runs only once because the timer repetition just we made it no. If the timer, if we say that the timer needs to be repeated as, then it will repeat every certain period of time. Like this is what it's related to the scheduling of a jobs and running concurrency jobs with the operation queue as handling the jobs. And we have GCD and blocks. This I will explain you a bit later. Let's check with these date and time and singleton classes and notifications. Let's take some calendar. Here you can able to create one calendar. So there is an API class which is provided in Objective-C called NS calendar. So there are certain classes if you want to handle with let's say I want to go with calendars. I need to create a calendar. So the NS calendar is one of the API class which creates the calendar for different genes. And we have like NS date components. There is an NS date component it's having, which divides separates the components from date. It's like if you say the components in the sense, the component means day, month, year, hour, minute, second, AM, RPM. So anything can be your component. Not only day, month, and it includes weekday, weekday, month, year, and you can mention anyway. So there are like date components are available, and there is a date formatter. So this is one of the API class which used to change the format of the date display, like or or you can say dd -mm so, or etc. Any other format. If you want some specific format, you want to display a date, so you have to use the date formatter API. This is the class. This class the date object, which gives you the time and date. So this is where like there are the four API classes which supports for the calendar creation. If you would like to manage some date components, then these classes will be used. So if I want to see here, so I can create a calendar object. So there is a calendar identifiers. There are different regions based calendars they have used, like a Gregorian calendar, and it's in Buddhist or Chinese. There are different types of based on religion, like based on the location. They given different calendars based on the history, but we use mostly like a Gregorian calendar for this Europe and Western timing side. So I would like to take one instance which having the calendar format for Gregorian. So I can do that by creating an instance for the calendar. I just allocated the memory and I've done that initialize the calendar with an identifier. It's like a Gregorian calendar identifier. So here I got one calendar object. So I would like to take the current date. So if I want a current date, so I can use NS date. So the method is date, which returns you the current date and time. Here I got a date. So, and I would like to change the formatter. If I want to change the format, I can use like a date formatter. So this changes your format. So for example, let's create a new project. Date and time. So like for this, I can use like an state the state date, which returns your current date. Now I want to display what is the date it is. So if you would like to display any object information in a string format, we use NSObject method is called description. Now you can see the date and time. It's plus GMT. It's like it's based on it returns your GMT time. So what exactly it is. And if I want the date and time after some 2 hours or 3 hours, I want the date after some period of time. Date after some period. So there are certain methods which gives you that information. So I would like to go with the since date to I want to 120 after 120 hours. It's like you have to mention the number of seconds after how many seconds I want. And a state, this is my current date. After I want some advanced, so date after some period. Just we got the date is like 214, and just I displayed after 120 hours what is the date. So 26 to 18, and it's given the date which is after 120 hours from the current time. Either if you want to past date, mention it like a minus. It gives you the past date from the since date. From this date to after, it's like a before date. You can get a before date, or else you can get an after date. It depends on this. Give you after some time from current date. Simply future date and time. Past time. Use the past. So I want since 1970. What is that? Is the specific. You can use. There is a method we have since 920. What is this? So this is your time in seconds. You can see the future and past from 1970. So this is where you can handle the like dates, or how you can get the current date, and how you can get some date after some period of time or before some period of time. Since the data are from the 1970, there are the certain predefined methods are available, then we have to utilize. And now I want to change some format for the date. Then I have to use a date formatter. Change in format. In a state formatter. Greater this. Date from string. I can use like a date from string, or I can do that string from date. I can use. If you want some format needs to be specified, you can specify the set date format. I want something from this. The format which I have given. I want one string from this format. I'm getting str date here. So now you can see the date, like you got the full month name from the date, because this is where my date format is. I want something like this. So you got a date in a format of mmddyy. So the way you want, you can do that. If you want short month or full month, or the month in number format or month in string format, something like that, you can get it mmddyy. This is where you can use a date formatter to change the one format to another format, or else I can do that hour, minute, ss. You can get a full date and time. So whatever the date returns, I want some different format here. So if you see that I able to get month, date, year with the hour, minute, second. So such a way you can use this date formatter to make sure change the date one format to another format. And we have one more, like after date format we have a date component, like ns date component, and calendar, like how to get the number of weeks of a date, or number of days in a month, or like what's the exact date between two, like you can get the number of days from a year, or you can get a number of days from a month, or you can get number of weeks from the month, and what is the number of like what is the rest of the weeks which is there from the current date to in present month. We can get all these separating, like dates, like separating the components from the date also, we can do that. I will tell you tomorrow with date components and as well as calendars. So this is where you can use date and to manipulating the dates and changing the format from one format to another format. The similar way we can change the date to string format, and we can change from string to date format also. The format will give you that date from string and string from date. We do both, vice versa. It gives you both, like it returns like date to string and as well as a string to date. This we can do in we can do in both ways. Okay. Is there any doubts?